Hong Kong is witnessing a surge in pet abandonments as the city experiences an exodus of residents due to China's crackdown descent, as well as some of the world's strictest COVID restrictions.
High prices and strict legislation in transporting dogs make taking them an extremely complex and expensive process for owners, often forcing potential immigrants to leave their pets behind. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I'm CJ Hero.
And I'm Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. And now for the headlines.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is now in Singapore for the second leg of his two-country state visits. He meets with the Filipino community in a gathering at the University Cultural Center. Inflation rate slightly slows down to 6.3% in August. Peso plunges further to 57 pesos to a dollar. At least 66 people have died from the strong quake that hit the mountainous province of Sichuan, China. And Typhoon Hinamnor hit South Korea, killing 2 and 10 more missing.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. arrived in Singapore for the second leg for his two-country state visit, which aims to strengthen bilateral relations with neighboring countries. From Singapore, we have Eden Santos for the story.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has arrived in Singapore for the second leg of his inaugural state visit. The president just concluded his first visit to Indonesia and then proceeded to Singapore for another state visit. Just like in Indonesia, the chief executive's first activity is a meet and greet with the Filipino community at the University Cultural Center. The president, along with his delegation, arrived at Changi Airport in Singapore past 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Before attending to his other activities, the president met with a group of overseas Filipino workers who are likewise happy to see him. Singapore is a home to more than 200,000 OFWs, 84,000 of which are domestic workers.
He already activated the, what you call this? The OFW is not the migrant Department of Migrant. So I think he's doing well.
So sa tingin niyo po, mas mabibigyan ng pansin ngayon yung kalagayan ng ating mga OFW?
Yeah, of course. I guess. Yeah. I'm sure of that. I'm sure of that. Na gaganda ang kalagayan ng mga OFW sa ibang bansa.
Anyway, gusto kong marinig yung safety ng mga Pilipino dito. Yun lang talaga yung ano.
Bakit?
Kasi sa dami nangyayari sa abroad ng mga kababayan ng mga OFW na nag-work sa bahay. So, yun talaga yung gusto kong mabigyan sila ng
Protection.
Opo, protection. Yung mga nagtatrabaho sa bahay, especially, yun talaga.
Meanwhile, Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Arsenio Balisacan, who is part of the president's delegation, said that like in Indonesia, the president's visit to Singapore seeks to enhance bilateral relations between the two countries, especially in trade, investment, innovation, and education. From Singapore, Eden Santos reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Philippines and Singapore are expected to sign agreements on cybersecurity and data privacy during President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s two-day state visit in Singapore. The Department of Foreign Affairs said the chief executive, apart from his meeting with Singaporean leaders, is scheduled to participate in an economic briefing with the Department of Finance and Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, as well as attend a roundtable meeting with the business community in Singapore. In a briefing on Sunday in Jakarta, Migrant Workers Secretary Susan Oples said tech giants Facebook and Grab are looking to hire more Filipino workers in their Singapore offices.
Before departing for Singapore, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. held a short briefing with the media in Jakarta. During the briefing, he told the media that he is open to use the collaborative strategy in its delimitation talks with Indonesia to resolve the territorial dispute with China. Eden Santos files this story.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. today said he is willing to explore maritime border talks with China using the collaborative strategy with Indonesia that led to a peaceful settlement of overlapping claims in Mindanao at Celebes Sea. Before departing for the second leg of his inaugural visit to Singapore, President Marcos told reporters that it's worth trying. The chief executive said the ASEAN could explore the result of the delimitation talks between Indonesia and the Philippines as a template.
As I said, we should show it to the rest of ASEAN as an example that it is something that actually it can be done. It can be done basta't nag-uusap kayo with a bilateral agreement.
When asked if he is willing to use the same strategy with China, the president said the effort bore a result. Marcos said he hopes the strategy would work, and if not, he's willing to look for other ways to resolve the issue.
I think it is worthwhile to explore, at the very least, because it is one instance that this kind of discussion, we came to a conclusion and we came to a resolution. So we should try it now. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. But at least we have a beginning point. That's what I see. How I see it.
The Philippines and Indonesia, along with other ASEAN member countries, have been speaking about China's incursion in the South China Sea, which it claims to own in its entirety. China also refuses to acknowledge the 2016 ruling of the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague, Netherlands, invalidating China's sweeping claims to the disputed territory. From Singapore, Eden Santos reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
August inflation slightly slows down to 6.3% compared to the 6.4% in July. The August inflation is within the 5.9 to 6.7% forecast of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, but still above the government's target of 2 to 4%. The Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA, said the August inflation was driven by a decrease in the cost of transportation as a result of the series of oil price rollbacks and a decline in the food and non-alcoholic beverages. The BSP has earlier projected that the inflation rate in September or October will be much higher due to the global economic recession. The PSA said they will continue to monitor the peso and the global fuel prices that could have an impact on local transportation or transport inflation.
The Philippine peso continued its dip for the fourth straight trading day and carved another all-time low as the dollar sustained its strength amid strong demand. The local currency lost 0.1 centavo to close Tuesday at its intraday low of 57 pesos to a U.S. dollar, even exceeding its previous record low of 56 pesos and 99 centavos to a U.S. dollar record yesterday. A foreign analyst said the depreciation of the peso continued as strong domestic demand is challenging external trade dynamics. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has so far raised interest rates by 175 basis points, bringing the benchmark rate to 3.75 from an all-time low of 2% to check inflationary pressures.
Camarines Sur Congressman El Rey Villafuerte has appealed to the national government to ease its policy on wearing of face masks in public places in the country. Villafuerte said the Philippines is the only country that imposes mandatory wearing of face masks. The lawmakers said the country should follow Thailand and Singapore, which impose national use of or optional use of face masks as part of the new normal. Villafuerte added that the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF, may recommend the mandatory wearing of face masks in hospitals to persons with comorbidities and those entering air-conditioned establishments. The Solon said that even in European countries, wearing of face masks is optional, especially in open areas. Villafuerte stressed that some provinces in the country ceased imposing the wearing of face masks but continue to control the spread of COVID-19 infections in their locality.
Executive Secretary Vic Rodriguez appeared before the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee less than an hour after the panel voted to subpoena him. The panel agreed to subpoena Rodriguez to ensure his attendance in the Senate probe on the botched importation of 300,000 metric tons of sugar. Mayan Corvera has this story.
At the third hearing of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee to investigate the sugar importation fiasco, Executive Secretary Vic Rodriguez informed the panel of the reason for his absence.
I regret to inform the Senate that per instructions of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., I will not be able to attend the hearings of the above-mentioned committees.
This prompted Senator Risa Hontiveros to raise a motion to the Senate panel to subpoena Rodriguez, saying Rodriguez has no right to dictate how he will respond to the queries of the lawmakers.
Habang hindi sila humaharap, pangatlong beses na ito na hindi sila haharap para sumagot sa tanong, bitin yung buong kwento.
For his part, Senate Minority Leader Aquilino Coco Pimentel said Rodriguez should be compelled to attend to avoid accusations that the Senate is covering up something.
Magdududa na tuloy ang taong bayan na meron pati ang Senate Blue Ribbon Committee meron gustong paboran. O then number 2, pag hindi naman nag-appear si ES, magdududa rin ang taong bayan. Ano ba tinatago ng taong ito? Napaka mabibigat na paratang at salita, masasakit na salita ang binitawan niya dyan against the members of the SRA. Siguro naman, bigyan naman niya ng chance ang members of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee na makapagtanong. Limited din sa sinabi niya sa kanyang testimony. So, what's the big drama?
Panel Chairperson Senator Francis Tolentino called for an executive session and the lawmakers voted to subpoena Rodriguez. However, less than an hour before the Senate Sergeant-at-Arms was set to serve the subpoena, Rodriguez arrived at the Senate. He proceeded to the office of Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri, who escorted him to the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing. Zubiri said President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. called him in the morning and asked Rodriguez to attend the Senate probe. Rodriguez apologized to the senators and explained that he has no intention to offend the committee.
I would like to sincerely apologize if there is, we have to resort to the issuance of a subpoena to compel my presence today. I have no intention whatsoever to disrespect the honorable members of the Senate and the Senate as an institution. And that is why immediately when I learned that a subpoena was issued, I don't want to, but I have to inform His Excellency, even if he is on a state visit, and immediately he asked me to forthwith see the Senate President and immediately be present in today's Blue Ribbon Committee hearing.
Rodriguez said he is not denying that he asked for the Sugar Regulatory Administration to submit an importation plan that intended to import 300,000 metric tons of sugar, but added that the President did not approve it. Hence, it is deemed illegal to issue Sugar Order Number 4 without the authority of the President.
We were still in the process of determining the basis of their suggestion on whether to import 300,000 metric tons of sugar or not. Ang gusto kong malaman ng Pangulo, unang-una, ano ang nangyari, consumed na ba yung 200,000 metric tons? At kung ito'y na-consume na, ano ang ating magiging basihan kung bakit tayo mag-import uli based on the proposed SO4, kaya ho kami humihingi ng import plan. Wala po, Your Honor, na pagkakasunduan o naaprobahang import plan, kaya wala pa hong basihan din yung pagpasa nila ng SO4. Dahil hindi pa ho nila mabigay yung essentially process of liquidating yung 200,000 metric tons na produkto po ng SO3. Nandoon pa lamang ho kami, kaya nga ho nagulat kami pareho ng ating Pangulo, bakit nagpasa ng SO4 at bakit 300,000 metric tons ang ipinipilit na ating iangkat muli.
However, the senator did not grill Rodriguez on the issue of a meeting where it was said he ordered the sugar importation. Instead, the Senate castigated former SRA Administrator Hermenegildo Serafica. The committee also threatened to cite Serafica in contempt. Serafica raised an idea that it was the president who mentioned the importation of 600,000 metric tons of sugar, to which the senators questioned why he is telling it only now, a statement which is contrary to his previous comments in the Senate probe.
I even asked you kanina, I was the one who asked you, I think that was an hour ago. I have the time here. I even asked you, bakit ngayon lang lumabas yung 600,000 na hindi mo pinagpapawisan ngayon. Hindi ko alam kung walang aircon dyan sa likod mo. 600,000, tapos sinabi mo online. Ngayon, sinasabi mo, hindi mo sinabi yon. We can replay that.
Hindi ko po sinabi na 600 po yung...
Sinabi mo yun.
Mr. Chair.
Ang dami nakarinig no kanina. It's not me against you. Even the media can show that. If i-play sa'yo yun, you mentioned 600,000 metric tons. Saan mo nabunot yun? Tapos ngayon, dinideny mo na.
Mr. Chair.
Hindi ko po yun sinabi, Mr.
Kung
Chair.
nandito ka lang sa premises ng Senado, pinakulong ka na namin dito. Pero sinabi mo yung kanina, ang pinalalabas mo ngayon, ako yung nagsisinungaling?
You better clarify, Mr. Serafica, you are very close to being cited for contempt.
The Senate has concluded its investigation on the sugar fiasco, and a committee report will be submitted on Thursday. The recommendation will include measures to end possible conspiracy among government officials with smugglers in the country. Mayan Corvera reporting for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
A survey by Telenor revealed that digital dependence stood out to be at the highest in the Philippines at 29%, while it was lowest in Vietnam at 9%. The multinational telco company survey also reported that Filipinos tend to spend 90% of their day using their mobile phones at 53% compared to a 41% average across all 8 Asian markets. Respondents in the Philippines relied on their phones for various purposes, but mostly for productive activities. The study also disclosed that most Filipinos believe that using their mobile phones benefit their learning at 90%, as well as their work at 93%. A majority of Filipinos spend nearly the entire day using their mobile phones since the COVID-19 pandemic forced them to engage in learning and do their work through digital platforms. Mobile usage for social network also reached 70% in the country, exceeding the regional average of 54%. Telenor also reported that 4 in every 5 Filipinos are concerned with data privacy and mobile security, compared with Asian average of 58%. On a regional scale, 94% of Asians said they spend at least half of their day using their mobile phones. The Telenor also said mobile usage in Asia more than doubled in most economies compared with usage before the pandemic. Now, that survey by Telenor gathered insights from over 8,000 mobile users in 8 markets, including Bangladesh, Indonesia, Malaysia, Pakistan, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Coming right up, China quake death toll rises to 66. Typhoon Hinamno kills 2 people, leaves several missing in South Korea. And Liz Truss becomes new UK PM after audience with the Queen. More stories from around the globe when Mata ng Agila International returns.
Add to cart, di ma. Ating gabi na. Wait lang, ma. Minsan na kasi itong sale, ma. Minsan? Buwan-buwan inaabangan mo yung 1-1, 2-2.
Hi, Miss Jane.
Sa'yo lahat yan.
Kalahati pa lang po yun, ma'am. May paparating pa po tayo mamaya.
Ha! Darling, mai-consider bang addiction yung mga ganap ni Jane? Parang okay naman yung term addiction.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's get together sa Net 25. Ang Quezon City, sarap panoorin. Sa Quezon City, balay tawag gagawin. Kaya sa Quezon City Show, sumama na lahat tayo. Sa Quezon City, sa Quezon City. Kung ika'y lonely, wala kang magawa. Walang magawa daw, sa Quezon City, sa love trip ka matadapa. Ay, ouch. Kaya buksan ang TV nyo, sa Quezon City na tayo. Sa Quezon City, sa Quezon City. Buong pamilya, pati ang barkada. Kuya, ang inyong aso, pati inyong mga pusa. Magsama-sama tropa nyo, sa Quezon City na tayo. Sa Quezon City, sa Quezon City. Yeah! Okay nga eh.
Welcome on board.
We bring you more news updates here on Mata ng Agila International. At least 65 people died from a strong earthquake that hit southwestern China on Monday, with rescuers foraging for more survivors through the rubble. The state media reported that the magnitude 6.6 quake damaged homes and left some areas without electricity. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the strong quake hit about 43 kilometers southeast of Kingdon City in Sichuan Province at a depth of 10 kilometers. State media reported this morning that more than 200 were still cut off from rescuers in a remote scenic area and scores missing elsewhere. Electricity and telecommunications lines are also severed, as state media reported that several aftershocks were recorded in nearby areas. USGS also reported a smaller magnitude of 4.6 tremor hit eastern Tibet
less than an hour after the initial quake. Hundreds of rescue workers were dispatched to the epicenter, according to CCTV, alongside footage of firefighters in orange jumpsuits boarding trucks and navigating a highway littered with rocks and other debris. According to CCTV, President Xi Jinping called for local authorities to make saving lives the first priority, go all out to rescue people in disaster-stricken areas and minimize loss of life.
Typhoon Hinamno killed 2 persons and left 10 missing on Tuesday before heading back to sea with few reports of major property damage. The typhoon, one of the most powerful to bear down on the country in decades, hit the southern island of Jeju overnight before making landfall near the port city of Busan, which was battered by huge waves and heavy rain which damaged beachfront roads and shops. Early Tuesday in the eastern port city of Pohang, an elderly woman in her 70s was swept away in flooding and killed, the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters said. Death tolls could climb late afternoon, including 7 people at a submerged underground parking lot in Pohang. Closed more than 600 schools nationwide, and local carriers grounded some 250 domestic flights. But service gradually resumed Tuesday as Hinamno headed towards Japan. North Korea had also been local trains also paused service, operator JR Kyushu said. Public broadcaster NHK also reported that at least 120 flights departing and landing at Kyushu's airport were canceled.
In other news, one of 2 suspects being sought by police in a stabbing rampage that killed 10 people and injured 18 others in the Canadian province of Saskatchewan has been found dead. Rhonda Blackmore, Assistant Commissioner of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, says his body was found Monday morning.
At 11:30 a.m., a deceased male was located on the James Smith Cree Nation. At 1:17 p.m. today, it was confirmed by Saskatchewan RCMP Forensic Investigation Section that the deceased is Damien Sanderson.
Blackmore says Sanderson's injuries don't appear to be self-inflicted. His brother, 30-year-old Miles Sanderson, still remains at large. Blackmore says Miles may have sustained injuries. She says police want the public to know this because there is a possibility he may seek medical attention, adding that even if he is injured, it does not mean he is not still dangerous.
Liz Truss officially became Britain's new Prime Minister at an audience with Head of State Queen Elizabeth II after the resignation of Boris Johnson. The former Foreign Secretary was seen in an official photograph shaking hands with the monarch to accept her offer to form a new government and become the 15th Prime Minister of her 70-year reign. The symbolic ceremony took place at the sovereign's remote Balmoral retreat in the Scottish Highlands, as the Queen was deemed unfit to return to London due to ill health. The Queen received in audience the Right Honourable Elizabeth Truss, MP today, and requested her to form a new administration, Buckingham Palace said in a statement. Ms. Truss accepted Her Majesty's offer and kissed her hands upon her appointment as Prime Minister, it added. Truss, who was announced the winner of an internal vote of Conservative Party members after a grueling contest that began in July. Meanwhile, outgoing Prime Minister Boris Johnson vowed to support his successor, Liz Truss, every step of the way as he made his farewell Downing Street speech. Johnson also called for the ruling Conservative Party to rally around his successor, Liz Truss, as she takes over UK Prime Minister.
Majority since 1980.
On the other hand, UK Home Secretary Priti Patel resigned hours after Liz Truss was named as the new Prime Minister. But she left a preemptive strike, saying she would return to the backbenches after her successor is unveiled.
U.S. President Joe Biden has said Russia should not be designated a state sponsor of terrorism, a label Ukraine has pushed for amid Russia's ongoing military operations in its region. Some U.S. politicians have also pressed for the designation, but when Biden is asked if Russia should be designated a state sponsor of terrorism, the U.S. leader frankly told reporters at the White House, no. Moscow has repeatedly warned that if the U.S. should stick a label of terrorism to Kremlin, it would rupture U.S.-Russian ties. Meanwhile, the UN nuclear watchdog is due to issue a report on the Zaporizhia nuclear power station later today. Aside from the report, IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi will also brief the UN Security Council regarding the situation in Europe's largest nuclear plant.
A Russian court has sentenced a former journalist to 22 years in prison for treason in the latest move against the media and journalists. Aside from the prison sentence for 32-year-old Ivan Safronov, the court revoked the print license of the top independent newspaper Novaya Gazeta. Safronov appeared in court handcuffed and stood inside a glass enclosure. He was accused of divulging state secrets. Prison won't be easy for him, as the judge said Safronov will spend time in a strict regime penal colony. About 100 people gathered outside the courthouse, applauding Safronov and chanting freedom. He was arrested in July 2020 after leaving journalism to work as an advisor to the head of the state space agency. He was accused of collecting confidential information about the Russian military, defense, and security and handing it over to the intelligence service of a NATO country.
As the energy crisis deepens, people in the German resort town of Lubmin took to the streets to protest against Berlin's refusal to launch the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. The protesters also called for a ban on weapons exports to Ukraine and the resignation of the current government. European gas prices soared as Russia kept its main gas pipeline to Germany shut, bringing fears of a bleak winter for consumers and businesses across the continent. The Kremlin blames disruption to equipment, repairs, and maintenance caused by Western sanctions for its halt to the flow of gas through Nord Stream 1, its main pipeline to Germany.
Venezuela has seized 36.5 tons of drugs in 2022, most of them cocaine, the product of a special military deployment in border regions, military authorities said. General Domingo Hernandez Lares, head of the Armed Forces Strategic Operational Command, said drug seizures in the country have increased by 29.16% in the first 8 months of 2022 compared to 2021. According to official figures, police and military have this year intercepted shipments of 28.5 tons of cocaine and 7.5 tons of marijuana. Hernandez Lares also reported that last Saturday, a fish tank with 12 crew members was intercepted, which was transporting 2.8 tons of marijuana and cocaine in this coastal area. The military chief said the suspect's modus operandi was to pass from Alta Guajira and then seek to pass through international waters to reach Martinique. President Nicolas Maduro described as historic and forceful the operation carried out by the armed forces, which is fighting by sea, land, and air, the armed during trafficking terrorists of Colombia. Next up, Legionnaire's disease in Argentina claims its 6th death. China approves its first inhalable COVID-19 vaccine. And people abandon their pets in Hong Kong as they flee for a freer life. More news coming up when Matana Agila International returns.
di ma. Ating gabi na. Wait lang ma, minsan lang kasi itong sale ma. Minsan? Eh, buwan-buwan inaabangan mo yung 1-1, 2-2.
Hi, Miss Jane.
Sa'yo lahat yan.
Kalahati pa lang po yun, ma'am. May paparating ba po tayo mamaya?
Darling, mai-consider bang addiction yung mga ganap ni Jane? Parang OA naman yung term addiction.
Panalo tayo pag together, wala talo pag together. Let's get together. So let's 25.
This portion is brought to you by 318 Automart, Arlex Trading and Construction Supplies.
We are now back with more global news here on Mata ng Agila International. An outbreak of Legionnaire's disease in northern Argentina has claimed a sixth life. The outbreak in a clinic in San Miguel de Tucumán was first detected on August 18th. The latest victim was an 81-year-old patient with comorbidities who had been in serious condition. 11 people have been infected so far, including 8 staff members at the clinic. The clinic has been temporarily closed, and an investigation is underway to determine the source of the outbreak. The disease is linked to contaminated water and unclean ventilation systems. No new cases have been reported since August 25th.
This is intended for those who are afraid of getting immunization through injection. In China, Chinese health authorities approved the first ever inhalable COVID-19 vaccine. The said inhalable vaccine is made of Casino Biologics and is based from Tianjin, China. National Medical Products Administration gave their go signal to use the emergency use of inhalable vaccine for booster. Chinese drug regulator explained that it is easily stored and administered as it is a needle-free vaccine compared to the intramuscular jabs given through the use of a nebulizer. Meanwhile, Casino Biologics did not give information as to when will the adenovirus vectored vaccine will be available to the public. As of now, there is no data given in accordance with the efficacy of the new vaccine.
It's taken a week, but water pressure has been restored in the southern U.S. city of Jackson, Mississippi. Days of major flooding overwhelmed the city's already fragile, aging water system that left residents with dirty, brown water that sputtered out of taps at low pressure. The water, even if boiled, was not drinkable and could not be used for bathing. Soldiers had been distributing pallets of bottled water to thirsty residents in dire need. On Monday, Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves had some good news for residents.
There may be more bad days in the future. We have, however, reached a place where people in Jackson can trust that water will come out of the faucet, people in Jackson can trust that toilets can be flushed, and people in Jackson can trust that the fires can be fought.
The United States is facing a crisis, a lack of teachers. To address the shortage, the country's First Lady underscores the benefits of a career in education. Philip Toledo reports.
As students across the nation return to the classroom, First Lady Jill Biden has vowed to address a critical supply chain shortage in education: teachers. Speaking to the White House Domestic Policy Council meeting to strengthen the teaching profession, Dr. Biden announced new commitments to support school districts in need of teachers, as well as reminded current teachers to take advantage of temporary adjustments to the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program that allow more people to qualify than ever before. According to the administration, schools across the country are struggling to fill teacher vacancies, as well as other education-related roles such as nurses, counselors, paraprofessionals, and even bus drivers. To help, companies such as ZipRecruiter are launching online portals specific to K-12 education jobs. And the company Handshake will help college students and graduates learn about the impact of a career in education. Job posting giant Indeed will also host virtual education-focused career fairs throughout the year. Additionally, the Department of Education and Labor issued a joint letter to state lawmakers and elected leaders to increase teacher pay to a livable and competitive wage, as well as to expand preparation and support for teachers through apprenticeship programs. The administration quoted a stat that between 1996 and 2021, weekly teacher wages increased by less than $30, adjusted even for inflation. Various national organizations are also joining hands to help increase and diversify teacher talent pipelines across the country. The meeting ended by reminding current teachers and other public servants to take advantage of temporary adjustments to the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, which again allows more people to qualify for student loan forgiveness than ever before. Those interested do need to apply by October 31st of this year by visiting www.pslf.gov. Philip Toledo, Matanang Agila International, Atlanta, Georgia. Trusted, connected, on point.
Life for the people of Somalia is about to get worse. A dire prediction from UN humanitarian chief Martin Griffiths. He says the African country has been hit by 4 years of failed rainy seasons that have caused a drought.
To my core these past few days, by the level of pain and suffering we see so many Somalis enduring. Famine is at the door, and today we are receiving a final warning.
Getting help to people who need it isn't easy. A deadly insurgency by the radical Islamist Al-Shabaab group against the fragile Somalian government is limiting humanitarian access to many areas.
China's crackdown on dissent in Hong Kong, as well as harsh COVID rules, has sparked a surge in abandoned pets. People are fleeing Hong Kong for places where life is freer and often means saying goodbye to friends, in this case, their pets. A large number of both local and foreign residents are leaving because of the political clampdown and COVID restrictions. Normally, they would take their animals with them, but a shortage of flights mean airlines are making fewer spaces available for pets. Many airlines are avoiding Hong Kong entirely because of its mandatory quarantine rules. For the wealthy, many have got together to charter private planes to get their animals out, but for most, they have to make the heartbreaking decision to leave their pets behind. And the animal shelters in the city are also running at near full capacity. French ship owner Le Méridional unveils its zero-particle ferry, which will link Marseille to Corsica and boasts an innovative filter that considerably curtails pollution from maritime transport. A world first hailed by an air monitoring body and environmental activists, Le Méridional says the Piana's filter is directly connected to the smokestacks, which neutralize part of the polluting emissions. Not only does this particulate filter, but it also removes 99.9% of fine and ultrafine particles, the most dangerous for human health. Christophe Seguinot, technical director of Le Méridional, says the company did not look very far or invent anything. Seguinot explained that they used the baghouse filter process that is used in most industrial incineration plants, household waste, and biomass power plants.
Up next, crypto firm erroneously sent a woman $7 million plus refund. Russia permanently banned Ben Stiller and Sean Penn. And multicolored foam thrills spectators at British art exhibit. Stay tuned. We will be right back here on Matanang Agila International.
Minsan, buwan-buwan inaabangan mo yung 1-1, 2-2.
Hi, Miss Jane.
Sa'yo lahat yan.
Kalahati pa lang po yan, ma'am. May paparating ba po tayo mamaya?
Darling, mai-consider bang addiction yung mga ganap ni Jane? Parang OA naman yung term addiction.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's get together. Sa Net 25.
I can never get used to that, yung sumasalubong ako ng casket at makikita mo na lang siya, pangalan na lang.
OWA Administrator Arnel Ignacio sasagutin ang mga mainit na issue na kinakaharap ng OFWs. Punto por punto sasagutin.
I think we should slowly veer away from the narrative na lagi itong tungkol sa kawawa.
Kasama si Attorney Sal Panelo dito sa Counterpoint. Miyerkules, alas 10:30 ng gabi. Dito lang sa Net 25.
Alam ko marami nakakalkal sa akin pero hindi ko akalain ito kakalkalin niyo.
This portion is brought to you by Source Alliance.
The housing market in the United States fell to its lowest since January of 2016. Experts say it is a move towards stability. Anna Kui has the details.
Some experts say the housing market is in a recession, while others argue it's simply in a correction state. Meanwhile, the housing market continues to show signs of slowing down as new home sales in July fell to their lowest level since January 2016, according to the National Association of Home Builders. According to NAHB, newly built home sales are down 12.6% in July and down 29.6% from a year ago. Now, here in Las Vegas, we can see the housing market aligning with the overall slowing down. Industry experts are saying the current market is moving towards stability as property prices fell for the second month in a row in July. Average price sold last month was $465,000, a 3.1% decrease from June, according to Las Vegas realtors. Signs of cooling down in the number of home sales can also be seen in Las Vegas, where 2,066 single-family homes were sold in July, down 22.6% from June, and reflects a 38.4% decrease year over year. Industry experts say this downward trend in the housing market puts home buyers in a disadvantage, buying in one of the most overvalued markets, such as in Las Vegas. So we followed up with Jane, who was on a waiting list for a new build last year. And here's what she had to say about her home buying experience.
Overall, we were really nervous. We didn't think we could even close at that point. We waited so long, and to hear that the interest rates were so high was so disappointing for us, because if we closed like 3 months before that, it would have been 3%. Definitely no regrets. We've been wanting a house for a long time. We saved up so much money to buy furniture within the year of waiting for it to be built.
It seems home ownership remains the American dream despite the challenges in the housing market. Anna Kui, Las Vegas, Nevada, mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Crypto.com erroneously sent an Australian woman millions of dollars instead of a $100 Australian refund, according to a Supreme Court of Victoria legal document. It said that over 10.4 million Australian dollars, or about $7.1 million US dollars, were mistakenly transferred into the Vamanugari Manival's bank account in May 2021 after someone at Crypto.com accidentally entered the wrong number while attempting to refund $100 Australian to the woman. Manival used 1.35 million Australian dollars of the funds to purchase a property in a suburb of Melbourne that she subsequently gave to her sister. According to the court document, Crypto.com's Australian companies alleged that Manival transferred funds to a joint account, her daughter and others. It was not until 7 months later that the crypto exchange company realized the error while conducting a routine audit, according to the document. The crypto firm then pursued legal action against 8 defendants, including Manival and her sister, over the accidentally transferred funds. Manival's accounts were frozen in February after she had already transferred funds, while Crypto.com was unsuccessful in getting her sister's account frozen. The court issued a default judgment in favor of Crypto.com, and the case will be back in court next month.
Good for the body and the mind, the traditional Korean martial art of Taekwondo is known for its power and discipline. At the Chosun University President Taekwondo Championships in Los Angeles, California, our LA team explores how power-packed kicks bring spectators to their feet.
It's been widely held that practitioners of the martial arts enjoy mental and health benefits.
And at the Chosun University President Taekwondo Championship in Los Angeles, California, athletes and competitors certainly did their part in getting everyone's hearts pumping.
Sky! Chosun University Taekwondo competition, we got the first place in demo event. We had a demonstration for a long time, but because of COVID, we didn't compete. So around 3 months ago, we started training back. As you can see, our kids did a great job today, and I was super proud of them.
Today, we have more than 1,000 competitors and then also about 3,000 spectators. So this is a big event. Taekwondo is Olympic sport and plus in the martial arts. So Taekwondo is from Korea. Since we have martial arts and sports, so we try to combine both. It's not only martial arts aspect, also you try to add sports aspect. We try to teach like a discipline. We try to teach more like how to behave yourself. And also respect other people.
대한민국의 고유의 무술로 정말 오랜 기간 동안 수련해오고 위에 사람들부터 아래 사람까지 모두가 다 할 수 있는 운동이다 보니 더 아름다운 것 같습니다. 다르지 않고 모두가 할 수 있는 무술이기도 하고 대한민국의 고유의 무술이기도 하니까 그거에만의 아름다움이 있는 것 같습니다.
She said that the Taekwondo is one of the traditional martial arts, Korean martial arts, and she thinks that the Taekwondo is like everybody can participate and everybody can practice regardless of gender and then age, the races. Anyway, so that gives the beauty of the martial arts.
저는 8살 때부터 태권도를 해서 태권도가 없는 제 인생을 생각을 해본 적이 없었습니다. 그냥 계속 태권도를 제 인생은 태권도다 이렇게 연관돼서 제 인생의 태권도입니다.
She never thought of her life without taekwondo, as she studied the taekwondo at the age of the 8, and the taekwondo is just her life.
Some advice for those thinking about going to a Taekwondo event. Watch out for lightning fast practice kicks.
And occasional flying pieces of wooden tiles that have been kicked to smithereens.
Yvonne Allen, Los Angeles, California, Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Hollywood actors Sean Penn and Ben Stiller have been officially and permanently banned from entering Russia, as well as 23 other members of the U.S. Congress, high-ranking officials, representatives of the business and expert communities, and cultural figures. Russia's foreign ministry made the announcement in response to what it calls the ever-expanding personal sanctions by the Biden administration against Russian citizens. The hostile actions of the American authorities, which continue to follow a Russophobic course, destroying bilateral ties and escalating confrontation between Russia and the United States, will continue to be resolutely rebuffed, according to the statement. In April, PAN called on world leaders to hashtag Arm Ukraine Now. Stiller, on the other hand, traveled to Ukraine as part of the UN Refugee Agency. As of this writing, Stiller and PAN have not made any comments regarding Russia's announcement. In a city in Texas, kids learn the value of hard work as community members come together, tapping into the children's entrepreneurial inclinations. Jane Kathleen Gregorio has the story.
They say the children are the future, and what better way to celebrate that than on National Lemonade Day here in Corpus Christi, Texas, where vendor booths are being run by kid entrepreneurs. Let's go check it out.
Oh, this is Kids Lemonade Day. It's a national day for children's entrepreneurs and trying to teach them how to create their own businesses. This is Neil. He's 7. And this is Henry. 5. He's 5. And they, with the help of their father, made the root beer and kegged it up.
I filled up a water keg. 12 of these huge.
This is actually the 3rd year that this has been here at Lazy Beach. They decided, and we all decided, it would be a great thing because there's a lot of need for a lot of thinking children.
It's me, Chef Gigi, and I'm 8 years old. About to be 9. We've got chicken, a special curry sauce, bell peppers, carrots, potatoes, onions, rice. So we have 3 businesses: 1 hair care and body care, 2 cooking, and then 3 self-defense. I'm Chef Avery. I'm 7 years old and I'm in 3rd grade.
What's it like working with your sister?
It feels like really cool. It feels really cool doing this.
And how does it feel to be a 1st grader that's running her own business? Tell us about that.
Well, in 1st grade, it's really hard for me because I'm still 5. And my business is kind of easy because I'm kind of getting used to it.
Well, how did the customers like your lemonade?
Well, I should say they probably liked it because I tried strawberry lemonade before. I think they might like it. Our company name is Frozen Treats. I'm 9 years old and I'm in 4th grade. I'm 12 and I'm in 7th. I'm making limbens, so they're technically like a popsicle without a stick.
How did you come up with this idea and these flavors?
Well, they are inspired from like in Puerto Rico. That's where my dad and my mom used to live.
I can't do nothing but applaud them and their efforts, and they've also opened the way for other kids, even adults, to follow them. So my children have become kids that even adults want to follow and emulate.
Jane Kathleen Gregorio, mata ng Agila International, Corpus Christi, Texas. Trusted, connected, on point.
Here are some historical events that happened on this day, September 6. In 1522, the first ship to successfully circumnavigate the world was recorded. Victoria was part of the 5-ship expedition of Spain to the Moluccas, commanded by the explorer Ferdinand Magellan, until his death in the Philippines in 1521. Only 2 reached their goal in the Moluccas, and Victoria was the only ship to complete the return voyage. In 1955, the Laurel-Langley Agreement was approved. It abolished the U.S. authority to control the exchange rate of the peso, made parity privileges reciprocal, extended the sugar quota, extended the time period for the reduction of other quotas, and for the progressive application of tariffs on Philippine goods exported to the U.S. It expired in 1974. And in 2007, Italian operatic lyric tenor Luciano Pavarotti, who was considered one of the finest bel canto opera singers of the 20th century, died at age 71. And to help you go through this week, here's a quote from Roy T. Bennett, an American author. Don't be pushed around by the fears in your mind. Be led by the dreams in your heart.
Beautiful. And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I'm CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Richie Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.